Okay, good evening. So we saw yesterday, we saw that there's two psukim, two parshias in the Torah of a worker eating. One is the human, and two is the animal, is the shar. The psukim that told us about the person, kisava bekem reyecha, kisava becomes reyecha. So we went ahead and we said that speaking about b'mechuber, because kisava, when you go in, it's speaking about mechuber. You're speaking about what? Tolish, something that's disconnected. So how do we know that a poil can eat bit tolish? How do we know that a shark can eat b'mechuber? So we said we made a hekish, said Ravina, between the between the choisem and the nechsam, between the one that is choisem, the adam, and the nechsam, and the animal. So each halacha applies to both. Each halacha applies to both. The halacha of mechuber that we learn from the choisem applies to the nechtam, to the animal, and the halacha of the tolish, disconnected, applies to the animal. We apply what to adam. Today's share, we're going to have a few brises on the Yomid Aleph, and we're going to learn that from the word Bedisha. From the word Disha, we're going to learn a few interesting halachas. And again, very much in Agaya, what we spoke about. We said that the poil can eat as long as, he's in the field, he could eat. After he can't eat. He can't go ahead on novim below davaracher. In other words, he can't do something to facilitate eating more. So if he's going to go ahead, for example, if he's going to go ahead and suck it out and put away, that he can't do. If he's going to go ahead and dip it into salt, that he can't do. And that's going to play itself out in today's daf. So Bez Hashem, not a difficult daf, very geshmaka daf. So pay test Amid Aleph. We are for about 5-6 lines down. Tanabanan. So it says like Sachsam Shabbatishar, Dayish, Ma Dayish miyuchid. It's unique. The davar shigduli karka. When you're threshing, obviously it's something that grew from the ground. Upoil oichel boy, and the worker is eating from it. In this case, who the worker is the animal. But again, it's lav dafka the animal because we've established a relationship between the chayis and the nechtan, right? We've established that relationship between the two. Af kol shegiduli karka upoil oichel boy. So too, anything that's geduli karka upoil oichel boy. So that the worker eats what from something that grows from the ground. Yotza hachoylev. This would exclude someone milking an animal. By mechabetz, question about mechabetz is I like the oirich making butter. The hamagabein making cheese. She'en gedulei karka. They're not gedulei karka. Vein poil oichel boy. Good. Fred Gemara lamali. Why do I need Dayish to teach me that? I know it already. We learn how when you come to the Keren Meyacha, and that's speaking about David, that's Gedulei Karka. So what are you teaching me from this word Dayish that I don't know from the pasuk that says when you come into work, the Keren of your friend? It says I still need the limud from Dayish. Dayish is going to tell me something I wouldn't know from Kisavai. Again, the next pasuk right after the pasuk of Kisavai is Kisavai b'kamas re'acha v'kataftem elilos b'yotcha, and there we're going to use the lashon of kama, and we said kama is the rabbis call bali kama, anything that's standing. I'd say the rabbis nami midi de lav gedolei karkininu, and therefore I might be even more inclusive to include that the worker can eat from something that's not even gedolei karka, right? Such as what choylev mechabetz and megabein. Kamash Malon, that what? Pay test. Show me place. So Kamash Malon, that the Dayish that I wouldn't know from Kisavai, that I wouldn't know from Kisavai, that I wouldn't know. Right? Yeah.
What is do the character end? The processing, only when you
something that grows from the ground.
No, I understand that, but let's say grapes, right? So if I work
that's Gemar Malacha. That's the next step, Rabbi Yaakov. But right now we're discussing the object that shaykh has to be gedulei karka. Yeah.
So why would I think that comma would expand it to?
Because again, once you already know from Kisavai, and you're going to go ahead and say comma. So once I'd say it's lav dafka. Kisavai Keren Reyecha is telling me what? Something that's gedulei karka. So what is comma teaching me? So commas teach me call bali comma anything. Maybe I feel a rabbi stat. It's a havamina. Yes. I told you. Okay. I'll read it to you again. You have a Gemara. You have a Gemara with Sukkim on it?
No, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. You Kisavai becomes Reacha? Yesterday's stuff you have it then. Okay, there's two psukim. There's one by Karen, one there's Kama. Now, there's just a side point. Since guys, since it's a side point. Why do you spend your money on Maisa Sheni? You go to Yerushalayim. What do you spend it on? Right. One of the things you spend it on has to be Gedulei Karka. Can you buy an animal, Maisa Sheni? Say yes. Mm-hmm. So what do you see? An animal is considered what? Gedulei Karka. Right? Says top taisus. Top taisus. Gedulei Karka Yotza HaChaylev. Again, Bereish Bechol Ma'arvin, in the beginning of Erevin, Choshev Bali Chayim Gedulei Karka. An animal is considered Gedulei Karka. The Darish, because we darshan the parsha of Maisa Sheni. We darshan Vinosata HaKesef Babaka Ubatzain. You could spend your money Babaka Ubatzain. Maha Prat Mafurish Pri, something that is part of a reproductive process. The Gedulei Karka. And we consider the what? Hasam Kari Lahu Gedulei Karka. So in other words, you have a kasha, guys. You're telling me it has to be something Gedulei Karka, and you're saying someone who's milking an animal, not. And when it comes to Maisa Sheni, it's considered what? An animal is considered Gedulei Karka. Says Taisvis. Hasam Kari Gedulei Karka Lefi Sheni Zunin Mina Karka. Yeah, because the animal gets its nutrients from the ground. Aval hacha, because it eats aval hacha, mafik shaper choylev umagabein. We exclude a milker and a cheesemaker. Loihavi b'chal dayish shu goydel b'tzameach min akarka. In other words, over when it comes to the food stuff itself, the dayish, it has to be similar to dayish. It's not going ahead and stamping on an animal; it's stamping on what? Something that actually goes from the ground. Masha'en came when it comes to Vinasata Keser Baka Batsoin, and you say Primi Priv Gedulei Karka, means when it comes to viewing that, I can view it as Gedulei Karka. But when it comes to the application of something that you're going to apply to the working, then it's dafka exactly similar to dayish, which is in itself something that grows from the ground. That's the distinction that Tais makes.
Maisa Sheni to buy dairy products, not to be used to buy.
You could use Maisa Sheni to buy dairy products as well. You could. I mean, again, you could. Yeah, you could. The only thing Maisa Sheni you can spend your money on is water, salt, and mushrooms and truffles, because those are not. They don't grow from the ground.
But isn't cheese and butter anyway going malacha anyway?
Again, we'll see what Gemara Malacha sees soon. That again, the Gemara Malacha Lamaisa, we're going to see. Okay, so now says the Gemara. So that's the first brisa that Dayesh teach me. Tanya Ida, a second brisa. We're gonna have 4 brises about Dayesh. The second brisa, what does the word Dayesh teach me? Tanya Ida, Dayesh, ma Dayesh miyuchid davashe b'shas gemar malacha poil oichel boy. At the time of the gemar malacha, that's its gemar malacha. The poil eats. Av kol shu b'shas gemar malacha poil oichel ba. That's b'shas gemar malacha. So dayish, in other words, you're concluding by threshing, you're concluding the process. It's not the beginning of the process, it's an concluding process. It's towards the end. Yotza hamenachesh b'shumim b'tselim, someone who is literally weeding by garlic bowl and onions. That's not a gemar malacha. Hoyel vein gemar malacha ain't poil oichel behem. So if the person is going ahead and working with onions and garlic, but he's just weeding. Now, when we speak about weeding, what are we thinking about? Removing the weeds around it. So right, so that he would not be able to go ahead and pick out an onion or a garlic and take a chomp on it. Okay, why? Because it's not a gemar malacha. Read the Gemara lamali. So why do I need dayish to teach me that? I have another pasuk to teach me that. If the pasuk says what? Kisavai b'kerem re'echa v'chalt anavim kinafshecha savecha. They'll kill you titain, and you shouldn't put it what in your kalim. And in other words, it has to be what the time you put things in your kalim. But if you're not picking the onions or picking the shumin, the shum, the garlic, you're not putting anything in your kli. So why do I need the dayish to teach me that? I know from the pasuk itself. Don't put it in your kli. What's mashma? That, in other words, it's in your hand. You processed it. You have it, but you can't put it away. So why do I need dayish to teach me that? I know that from the pasuk itself. Alimi. It's not like we initially thought, fellas, that we're just weeding. You're taking out the small onions and the small garlic, which is impeding the growth of the larger ones. In other words, they're taking up what ground. So I guess, again, I'm not a farmer, but I guess when it comes to the nutrients and expanding and growing, by removing the small ones, you're going to go ahead and improve the large ones. So you would think what? You have something in your hands. So therefore, you would know that from El Keli Chalei because you could put it, right? There it is. Kamash Malon Dayish, that what? Since it's a not Gemar Malacha, because the Gemar Malacha is when the ones that remain in the ground. This is just a process to facilitate the ones in the ground getting better. So Mamela, in this case, it's like that, you would not be able to eat it. That's what I need from Dayish from. That I wouldn't know from El Keli Chalei Tanya Idach, a third brisa. Dayish. Ma dayish miyuchid davish like nigmar malachtoi lemaisa. You didn't have a gemar malacha for maisa. Poyel oichel boy. Af kol shlei nigmar malachtoi lemaisa poyel oichel boy. So this we saw yesterday, right? Right. Yotza haboidel bitamarim begroigreis. Now, usually dates and figs they would go ahead and press together. They would keep them pressed together. If at that point in time when they're pressed together, they've already been what? Past the Misa stage. You took off Misa from it already. So let's say you're working, separating this. They use some type of migrafe or some type of fork or shovel to separate it, and you're working at that, you would not be able to eat those dates, so you would not be able to eat those figs. Why? Because you already had the Gemar Malach L'Maisa. Yatza haboidel b'tomar Gemar Hoyel v'nigmar Malach L'Maisa. Ein hapoil oichel bay. Fred the Gemara v'Tanya haboidel b'tomarim u'b'gregis poil oichel bay. You have a brisa that says you could eat from them. It's past the stage of Meiser. So Rav Papa, Ki Tanya Hahi. When does it say you can go ahead and work and eat? It's speaking about Bituchlani. We're speaking about Tuchlani. Rashi tells us what a Tuchlani. Those are the dates that go up a little bit. We'll do it inside. Up, halfway point, up. Bituchlani, Tamarim Royim. These are poor dates. She'em is Bashlim Be'ilan. They didn't ripen on the tree. Umachnisin Lakiyam Bekli. Shall kapis tamarim, and we put it in a wicker basket made from palm shoots. The shmon the ushmon choisleis, and they're called choisleis, and that's what's called sochlani. Umischamamleis, and they go ahead and they get heated up. And they ripen. The koyim is bashlu kamar da boilman poil oichel behen. Like nigmar malach l'mais. In other words, the gemar malacha for these is not like the normal. Normally, you process whatever bias, whatever you're going to say, thoughts or whatever it's going to be, whatever particular gemar malacha. But this the gemar malacha wasn't for myself wasn't done yet. So I need this price to tell me dayish to teach me that in this case, where even though it didn't complete what the Famaisa, nonetheless, this is the price to explain you would eat. Excuse me. So, but where it's a regular case of what of tamarim and grois, where you're past the state of Meiser, then you don't eat. We have a kasha. We have a brisa that says even when it's past the state of Meiser, you could eat because you're separating. Yes, no, those are speaking about especially unique dates that were processed a different way, and their process was not the Meiser process. The Mamela, it's not going to be subject to the stopping the oil from eating. Okay, so that was a third brisa. Tanya Idach, a fourth brisa. Dayish ma dayish miyuchad davish like nigmar malachtay litchala. Upoil oichel bay. Af kol davish like nigmar malachtay litchala poil oichel bay. Yatza. This would exclude halosh. That's kneading, v'mekatef, that's forming the shape, v'ha'oife, baking, shenigmar malachtei lechala. That the ain poil oichel bay. If you're a baker, you can't go ahead and now push it. If you got to that point, I assume that you reached the point of Maisa before that. Fred the Gemara about like nigmar malachle lemaisa. If you reach that point, you already had a gemar malacha for maisa. Okay, so in other words, what are you telling me? You just told me in number 3 that gemar malacha lemaisa, right? Then the poil doesn't eat. Now you tell me chala, but 1 second, I'll tell you why chala you don't eat, because you already passed the state of maisa beforehand. You already passed the state of maisa beforehand. It says maloi kasha. The chutz la'aretz askinon, we're dealing with chutz la'aretz, leka maisa. In other words, I don't have a gemar malacha l'maisa to stop the poil from eating. I do have the process of challah to stop the poil from eating. Okay, so so far we have 3 brises, right? Each one about dayish. The first one telling me that what? Dule karka. The second one telling me gemar malacha. The third one telling me maisa, and the fourth one telling me challah. And what do we use challah for? I have maisa to stop. It's speaking where maisa is not noig in chutz la'aretz. Right? Gemara yihachi. It's speaking of chutz la'aretz. Challah nami leka. I mean, they're in the same ballpark, right? If you're not going to go ahead and be subject to maisa, you're not going to be subject to challah either. Ela la'olam ba'aretz. It's taka speaking in Eretz Yisrael. So now we have a kasha. So why do I need to stop from challah? I already stopped from maisa. Like kasha. B'sheva shekivshu u'b'sheva shechilku. The Amar sheva shekivshu v'sheva shechilku nischayev b'chalav lo nischayev b'maisa. Okay, now in Eretz Yisrael, got a little history. They came to Eretz Yisrael. Yeshua led them in. For the first 14 years, the Mishkan was in Gilgal, and bamas were permitted, and it was a unique halacha, right? It says kisavu el haaretz, and then it says b'vayachem el haaretz. So it says by challah different than it says by every other place. The other places it says kisavu el haaretz when you come into asa to asa, and what's the exact lashon? I'll look at Rashi just to remind myself. Okay, so it says by challah b'vayachem when you come into Eretz Yisrael, meaning immediately. It doesn't kisavahu. So, and that is speaking about Maisa. So, during the 7 years of Kibush and the 7 years of Chiluk, 7 years to conquer Eretz Yisrael, and 7 years to divide Eretz Yisrael, during that time, Maisa was not noig, but challah was. So, at that point in time, the poil would work. There would be Maisa, but there would be challah. So, it's coming to teach me that in those cases, right, when you get to the challah process, the poil doesn't eat. That's the teretz. Now, it's mashma the fact that what's the reason that you're not eating? Because of Maisa. Fred the Gemara Kasha, this doesn't make any sense. Okay? Fred the Gemara, Midi Maisa Kagarim, Gemar Malacha Kagarim. What stops you from eating? Not the fact that this Maisa is not noig by it, it's this point that you have a Gemar Malacha. So why would this teretz work? That's so good. There's no Maisa to the Schala, but once you have a Gemar Malacha, then l'chayra you should not be able to eat. So I need a different teretz. Ela Amar Rava, Ela Amar Avina, new teretz, guys. Guys, we're gonna make a combo. The last 2 brises we're gonna put together. We're gonna put Maisa together with Chala. We're gonna put Maisa together with Chala. Ela Amar Avina, Korich V'Tani. Go ahead and literally bind them together like Korich. Dayish, ma dayish miyuchid, the dava shalai nigmer malachtai. It's something that you don't have a gemalacha lemaisa ulechala. Right now, you just put them together. Maisa chala upoil oichelboy. I've called dava shalai nigmer malachta lemaisa ulechala poil oichelboy. How does this answer the teretz, guys? So here's what it answers. If it's something that is noig chala, then it's chala. That's the gemar malacha. If it's something that's not noig chala, then it's what? It's the maisa that's gemar malacha. That's the difference. Again, this is the way Rashi learns. So let's say it's something that is fruits and vegetables. There's no chala by fruits and vegetables. So whatever the gemar malacha would be for fruits and vegetables, at that point in time, the poil would not eat. But if it's the grains, which are noig chala, then you would have the poil will be able to eat up to the point of taking off chala. Yes, Rabbi Avi, what's your problem?
Also, the original question gets answered up because the usual question was that Maisa comes before Challah.
So now we're dividing it up. We're saying,
but it's not really.
It's not true. No, it's not true. It's not true. Right? It's not true. It's not true. So this is the way it answers. So yeah. So this is the dayish. We have basically 3. We have one to get to karka, one b'shas kamar malacha, it has to be complete, and one for Maisa and Mad and Chala.
Is it the whole truth today also? I mean, like after the Kibush and or is it when he's saying that it?
That was only those, no, yeah,
It's only then.
yeah, only then,
Oh.
only then. Ibaylahu. Poil mahu she. What was your question, Chaim?
No.
This
no,
teretz, no,
no,
this teretz, we got off the 7-year thing. We got off that.
we're off the 7
Yeah,
years.
we're off that. We're off that.
Because we always learned the Gemara Malachas at the.
Ruach HaKri, right? I know, but again, Indian maybe Indian Poil eating. The Gemara Lacha, okay. Yeah, I know, I understand. I understand your kasha. I have the kasha too. Says Gemara. If you look at Taisvis, Amar Avina, Karach v'Tani. The hashtadik Tani b'chada l'maisa u'lechala. Now you learned him as once. Muchach shapir l'nokit l'maisa ela la'afuke hechid l'shayach chala. I only learned that brisa where it's not shayach chala. Kigoin boidel b'tamarim. Aval hechid l'shayach chala lechoshev ela shenimim relachta l'chala. That's regarding the pearl eating. Aval ki havi b'choda brisa l'maisa l'chud havi mashma de b'chol malkam aslin and basel gemar malach l'maisa. If I only had that one, I would go after that. That's what it says. I don't know what the halacha is. I'm saying this is the shot in the Gemara. Okay. Anyway, iboilahu poil mausha yahavev beor. Now, guys, remember we said very important. Anovim. What do you learn from anovim? Anovim b'loiv davar acher. You eat your grapes, but you don't go ahead and bring along a dip. You can't go ahead and put it in salt. You can't go ahead and soy sauce, whatever works. I don't know. I made that up. Whatever. Make sushi, grapes, whatever. You can't do anything to enhance your appetite. Ashtas. What about this? Can I go ahead and parch them? Can I go ahead and parch them in fire? Make them a little sweeter. V'yochal. Miham v'kainovim b'davar acher. Is that similar to a novim b'davar acher, which you cannot do? Okay. Or maybe not. Maybe it's different. Maybe it's different. What would the difference be, fellas? By salt, you have there's something else plus. It's a novim b'davar acher. Here, the fire is gone. It's a chemical, right? But you're not eating in Metzias, right? Metzias, in essence, you're not eating. So maybe a novim davar acher is only a physical thing, but where you're doing a fire, maybe it's not. That's the shaila. That's the shaila. Toshma, Rishoy balabayis lahashkais poilim yayin. He can go ahead and give them to drink wine. Now, I don't know what kind of work is they're going to do after they drink wine. What kind of work you can get out of them? But if you're worried about them eating too much, that would be a good way. You're not going to eat too much. Okay. And Rishoyim poilim letavel pitam b'tzir, and the Rishoyim, the Rishoyim, and the work is that they're permitted to go ahead and dip their pita in seer, in order to eat a lot, right? Okay, so now, what did they do? They dipped they didn't dip the grape in the seer. They dipped their bread in seer, whatever. In other words, this increases your appetite. So it's mashma from here. The balabas could diminish, and the poil, what we need for, can enhance his appetite. So why can't he go ahead? Therefore, we can replace the shaila that he should be able to go ahead and toast his grapes. Says the Gemara, no. L'achshuri gavrloi can be boilon. To go ahead and prepare the person, in other words, make his appetite larger by going ahead and indulging in a dip of fish broth, that he could do. That we know, kikami boilon l'achshuri pera. And the guys yell chefza and gavra, right? We want to know the din in the chefza. We don't want to din in the gavra. We want to know, can you go and enhance that grape? Good. And you can't be poishit from here that he himself can make his stomach wider or his appetite better, because that's not our shaila. What's the din toshma? Poilin oichlin anavim b'roshay umnoyos. Poilin can wait to eat until they get to the head of the furrow, shalahem. Rashi seems to say that the head of the furrow is the one that's exposed to the sun more. Since it's exposed to the sun more, it's like it's sun ripened. It's sweeter. So in other words, he can just not eat the first place he comes to. He can wait and bide his time till he comes to a place where the food it's sweeter. Provided he doesn't go ahead and heat it up, toast it up. So Chari can be pushed a Shaila that you can't. So that's going to Hassam, Mishum Bitum Malacha. No. Maybe over there, the reason he can't to stop working and make a fire and break out some little grate to toast the grapes, that you can't do. Because what? Not else eating, not a Choshemish Patikadin, but what yeah, but actually Choshemish Patikadin, right? Yeah. Bitum Malacha, right. Kikomi Boilan, Hecha de Ika Ishtayu Bonav. Who could toast it to him? What's the din? In other words, no shaila about him working, but his wife is there, his kids are there, and they're going to go ahead and toast it up. What's the din? Tashma, let's try to be patient again. Lo yahaviv ba'or, person should not go ahead and toast it at or, v'yochel and eat, lo yichmor ba'adama, nor he can't take the grapes and roll it in the ground, heat it up in the ground, like the ground is hot, you can't do that. V'yochel, lo yafrich agabe sela, nor can he crack the grapes on top of a rock. V'yochel, avol machrich al yad, he can go ahead and break it in his hands, v'oichel. Okay? So see over there, lo yahavev bar. So if you push the shaila, says also mishum bitum malacha. The same reason. It's not because it did in the grape they can't do it. It's because of what bitum malacha. Hachanami mistarba to say it's about speaking of bitum malacha, because you look at the whole clause of the brisa. Yisakadaitum mishum metuke pera sela my metuke pera ikka. So it must be that why it's bitum malacha, because hitting it on a rock. In other words, I want to bring a raya from the rest of the brisa that must be speaking about bitum malacha, because going ahead and pounding it on a rock, how's that making it any better? So it must be bitum malacha. Says Gemara, iyavsha mamtik porta. You have no raya. Kenzain that even if you hit it on the rock, it makes it a little sweeter. But einachinami, you don't have a raya. I'm giving you a teretz, it's bitum malacha. You want to bring a raya, it's bitum malacha. Your raya is nishkan raya, because maybe it does make it a little better the fact that you hit it on the rock. Okay. Tashma, Poilim Shahoya Oidrim Bitainim, they were harvesting figs, the Goidrim Bitamarim. These are all different lashonos of harvesting by different objects. So Oidrim is Bitainim, Goidrim is Tamarim, Baitzim is Anavim, Moiskim is Bezaisim. All of these places, Hari Elu Oichlin, they can eat, Upiturim, and they put it from Maisa, Shatorah Zachsalahem, right? Because the Torah is Mizaka that they could eat. However, the Pitam Layoichlu, they shouldn't eat it with their bread. Elam Kain, not Lubashus Mevala Bias, Vlayisbais Bemelach, and they shouldn't go ahead and put them in salt. They shouldn't go ahead and put them in salt for Yoichel. Good? So let's be Paisha the Shaila, guys, that what? Just like you can't dip them in salt, so too you can't toast them. What's the answer? Melach Vadai Kainafim B'Davracher Dami. Putting them in Melach is Vadai B'Davracher. Right? Good? Masha'en Kain us, what are we speaking about? Masha'en Kain us, we're speaking about when you don't have a davar acher. Again, how do we begin the shaila, fellas? How do we begin the shaila? Since you're not adding anything to it, it's an external chemical reaction, or not reaction, Metzias of cooking, of toasting. There we want to know, it's like a davar acher, but salt, vada is a davar acher. That wasn't our shaila. Now it seems to remain in a bayid lo yifshita. It seems to remain, they're not placed at the shaila. And now we go into a new shaila. It says over here, you're not able to dip it in salt. We're going to see a stira, apparently that you could dip it in salt. So this is a shaila about toasting it in or remains in a bayid lo yifshita. So. Okay. Says the Gemara. You shouldn't dip it in salt and eat. Urimenu, I'll bring another brisa. Then apparently would be slice of this brisa. A person goes ahead and rents a worker for the purpose of what? Of adder's hoeing. That means like I think you dig a little bit in the ground. Well, the kash case, that is to take the roots. So guys, this is like no gemar malacha, right? You have no shaykhis to the fruit right now. All you're doing is improving it for a later. This is the gemar malacha, not the ma'isa. This is not the ma'isa part. This was the second brisa, guys, right? The gemar malacha part. So the first brisa of Daesh was gedulei karka, and the second one is was gemar malacha. That has to be an end process. So if you hire out the poil for the purpose of what? Of making sure that the trees will grow better by hoeing or by covering the roots, tachas azeisim, right? Kashik's tachas azeisim. Harizelo yoichel. They shouldn't eat. Why? Because this is not gemar malacha, as we saw. Aval sachroi livtsar, if you were hired to harvest anavim, I sachroi limslike to go ahead and harvest olives. I sachroi lil lakate, or you sachroi to gather paris. Then you eat upater and you pater from Isa. Torah zichsalahem, because the Torah was mezaka. Katzatz, if instead of you being samich on the Torah allowing you to eat, but you made a deal with the balabas that you're going to eat X amount. Again, you made a deal with the balabas katzatz. You set. You made a deal with the balabas that you're going to eat X amount, right? In that case, you're chayev in. What did we say yesterday, guys? That's gemar malacha. Midrabanan, fellas. Buying, if you purchase something, that was the half a mina that he won't be able to eat, right? So now, if you go ahead and you're not samich on the Torah and you say, I want to eat X amount, so you're buying it from him, then you're subject to Maisa right away. Not even the Gemar Malacha. That is the Gemar Malacha. Then you could eat achas, yoichal, shtayim lo yochal, but you can't eat two. Because again, two already is a mechira, and therefore that you're considered a lakeach, and that is going to be your Gemar Malacha for Maisa. So far, we didn't see this theory yet. V'soifes b'melach v'yochal, and he's able to dip it in and eat. Okay, now we had two cases, right? We had the case of the first case where he's not allowed to eat at all because he wasn't hired for a Gemar Malacha. He was hoeing or covering roots. And the second case where he went ahead and he said he could eat. And then the third case was if he sets a price, then you're limited to 1 and 2. Good. Now, says the Gemara, this last clause of the brisa that you could dip in salt and eat, what's it going on? What's it going on? Ilema aseifa, if it's going on the seifa, right? Even the katzatz, kol hecha de boilecha. What are you talking about? The guy said, what did he say, guy? What did he say? He said, I want to eat, right? You're going to tell him, and you made a deal, he paid you for it. Paid you for it. You're going to tell him how to eat? Makes no sense. Obviously, what? He can go ahead and eat any which way he wants. Kol hechi de boilecha, anytime he wants to eat, he can eat. Elulav, it must be going on the Reisha, where you were not kaitzis the poil, right? Where you weren't. And nonetheless, it's, in other words, in that case, where he's being soimich al din Torah and eating as a poil rather than a lekeach, it must be going on there that says you can go ahead, dip in salt and eat. Fred the Gemara, so you see that what? That dipping in salt is permitted. You have a stira now in Brises. Guys, you have it? The first Brises says dipping in salt is what? Is vadai what? Anavim v'davaracher. And now you have a brisa that apparently is saying what? That no, you're saying that you're permitted to eat. So Amr Abaya is going to give two a teretz, and then Rabbi is going to give a teretz. Amr Abaya, V'loi kasha. It's not shver. We're not speaking at all about the din of the poil eating, guys. It's a din in Maisa, guys. In other words, this din of sticking it in the salt, we thought it's a din in poil. It's not a din in poil. This din of sticking the salt is a din in Maisa. It's a din in Maisa. V'loi kasha. The first brisa that says it's asa is speaking in Eretz Yisrael. You know why? Because as soon as you put it in the salt, that's like Gemar Malacha. So you can't eat. Not that you can't eat because why? Because you put in salt, it's enough d'avaracha. You can't eat because it's kaveh l'maisa. It's kaveh l'maisa. And the second brisa is b'chutz la'aretz. And since in chutz la'aretz, we're not chay midaraisa. Very good. Okay, b'chutz la'aretz. So now, b'aretz kavah sefisa. In Eretz Yisrael, where you chay midaraisa, so you're dipping it as kaveh. It's gemar malacha. There's nothing after that, guys. By putting in salt, you're eating it. There's nothing after that. But chutz la'aretz loy kavas fiyah. So it's only the rabbanon. Then it's not kaveya, and therefore we have it's easy teretz to the brisa. A little lumdish, a nice chap, right? We had a brisa that says when it comes to anavim and melach, it's anav davracha. You're not allowed to do it. We have a brisa that says you're allowed to do it. Fred the Gemara, how do you answer stira? Says the Gemara. That price that it says you could do it has nothing whatsoever to do with what with the pile eating. Right? It's not speaking about that at all. That is speaking about what the key of Maisa. When you go ahead and you stick it, it's kaveh Maisa. So if it's Eretz Yisrael, it's asa. It's asa. So in other words, he's disagreeing that anavim v'davar acher. Really, you should be able to do it if it wasn't the Maisa problem.
It's just Pai is not going to
We weren't pushing that shaila. We weren't pushing that shaila. So Amarava, mi ikimidi, is there something? The be'eretz kavas svisa. In Eretz Yisrael, be chayiv to give me ma'isa, midaraisa, ubechutz laretz lekavasi vasu mitlachatchila. Guys, we have a rule. Kol the tikkun rabbanon ke'ein deraisa tikkun. Kol the tikkun rabbanon ke'ein deraisa tikkun. So if you're telling me sticking its salt is going to be kaveh midaraisa lemaisa, that midrabanan also will be. It's not possible to say in Eretz Yisrael it's kaveh lemaisa and it's mutal lechatchila and chutz laretz. Right? You can't. Why? Because Maisa Chutzlar is going to say that it's midrabanan. You're going to be mechayiv me. You say call the tikkun rabbanan came to rise the tikkun. So therefore, Rava does not like a bias teretz to the stira in being into salt. One place says you could, one place says you can't. El Amar Rava, there's no difference between Eretz Yisrael and Chutzlaretz. Bein ba'aretz, bein b'chutzlaretz. The chiyuv Maisa is speaking where kishaloi katzas apoyel and balabayas. Okay, so now, guys, there's two possibilities. Fellas, let's go. Let's get the different variables. One, you're eating based upon the Torah letting you eat. How much? One or two. Those are two possibilities. Or else, you went ahead and you were katzatz. You weren't slemich on the Torah, and you made your own deal, and you want to eat one or two. And now we'll see how it comes into answer the stira. Says the Gemara. Now, bein ba'aretz bein b'chutz la'aretz chada, one grape, one grape, like kavos svisa. If you go ahead and dip one grape in, it's not going to be chayiv for ma'aseh, even in Eretz Yisrael. However, v'im oichel tarti, if you eat two, and when you eat two, it's considered a geirin, it's considered gemar malacha, kavos svisa. It would be, if you dip it in salt, it would be kaveya. Okay? So again, one, salt's not going to be a problem. Two, salt will be a problem. Katzatz, if he made a deal with the balabas, bein safas, bein loy safas, achas oichel, shtayim loy oichel. Salt has nothing what to do with it whatsoever. If you're katzatz, you can never eat two, right? Even if you didn't dip it in salt, you can't eat two. It doesn't make a difference, because once you cut satz, you're considered like keach. Like keach, a goyrin, two is a goyrin, and therefore you would be chayiv. Shtayim, okay. Bein sab and achas oichel, shtayim lo yachal. But shaloi cut satz, if the poil is eating based upon what the halacha of the Torah and not the din of the balabas, v'loi safas, and he doesn't dip, then oichel shtayim, he'd be able to eat two without taking off ma'isa. However, safas, then achas oichel, shtayim lo yoichel. But af al gav did not tell b'shus balabayis the itvelo bel ma'isa v'kovas visa. Okay, so what's the let's go this outside, guys. If you're going to eat two is going to be kaveh l'maisa. Okay, two is going to be kaveh l'maisa. So if you made a deal with the balabas, right, then no matter whether you salt or no salt, you can only eat one, you can't eat two. You can only eat one, you can't eat two. If, on the other hand, you didn't make a deal with the balabas, then you would be able to eat two if you didn't dip it in salt. If you did dip it in salt, then you would. Then you would not be able to eat. So if you did dip it in salt, one yes, two not. If you didn't dip it in salt, two yes. So that's the way you're going to answer the brisa. The brisa that says that you dipped it in salt, right, and that you could eat is speaking what? According to the, you didn't make a deal with the balabas. The brisa that says that you can't eat even is when you made a deal with the balabas. The tarti, the kaboy sviyasa b'melach minalan. How do you know too that if you dip in melach it's kaveya? Amar Rav Masna the makra ki kivtsam ka'omer garna. The pasuk says ki kivtsam, you gather in ka'omer garna. So we see lashon rabim and lashon of garna.